So you know what I think about sometimes, and this is horrible and it sounds very morbid of me, is I look around at all of our bigs and all of our littles, of course the feathered babies, and I just kind of know that they're all going to pass at some point, as will we all. But I sometimes in my mind ask, who do I think will be first? So the conversations that Ben and I have are pretty entertaining. And so Ben just now told me about a type of burial that people can choose. And he actually said that both my mom and dad, which would be Gigi and Pawpaw, have both asked to be buried this way. Yeah. It's called the eco funeral.
An eco burial.
All right, an eco burial. What exactly? Now tell me again what that is.
So, for example, what we're going to do with G and Pawpaw is no open casket.
No open casket. You said no embalming.
No embalming. They're just going to be, what they want is they're just going to be wrapped in a white shroud.
Okay, a white sheet.
And then they're going to be put into, G's going to be put into a wicker casket.
A wicker casket, which will break down and return to the earth as fast as her body will.
Yes.
Oh.
And Pawpaw just wants a plain pine box.
Just a plain pine box.
Yes.
So isn't that kind of neat? They both just want to keep it really basic and simple. I want to be cremated. I don't mind if there's a marker or something out here for me. But personally, I just want to be cremated, and I don't know how cheap that is. Is that expensive or cheap? That's the cheapest way to go, right?
No. Eco burial is actually cheaper than cremations.
Oh.
Cremations, I think, cost about...
Hold on, Ben. Guys, we're not letting babies out. We got a fire burning here. Ben and I are working on burning some a pile of limbs we've piled up. And he's bringing the tractor over right now. We're going to come through here. Do we got to do this every time? Do we have to do this every time? Ouch! That really hurt me. It's not that funny. Oh, boy. Look how funny I am. I bit Daddy's leg. Ha, 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 ha. Shut your little pie holes, all right? So Ben's riding. He's not you, chick. Okay, I'm walking through here. Oh boy! All right, here comes Ben, and we're gonna work. We're working right over here. It's funny, you know. I told Ben that if Jake leaves me and ends up doing full time at his own farm, I says, Ben, you know that you're going to be the new foreman. And so he's actually excited about that. I says, that means a lot of tractor work. We do a lot of tractor work here. And you know, Ben, for the most part, has always done the packages, sorted things out, does basic cleanup, you know, helps me out with stuff, recycles all the boxes. But I have taught him how to use a tractor, and he's doing pretty good. This is the first day that he'll actually use a tractor to kind of stir up the fire. What we want to do is push all them limbs back to the center, make sure everything burns. Could we use a rake? Of course. Do we want to? No way. Turn the volume. There you go. That's good. You don't need it quite so revved up for this. I taught him about the throttle and about how when you, look at this guy, when you do things that require more power, you got to give it some, you know, more throttle, more power. But some jobs don't require a whole lot. You know, tractor work truly is. Hey, wait. Now what you can do is raise your bucket and tilt it, and all that will fall back out. So tilt it down. No, tilt it down. There you go. And now when you back up, you won't be pulling any sticks or limbs with you. So tilt it down. There you go. Nice. Just be careful not to grab dirt, because if you grab dirt, you'll end up smothering your fire. You know what I mean? That was great. So let me get out of his way. We're going to want to burn this stump. So this is all of the stuff that we've had piled up here for a couple of months. We were waiting for it to dry. when we had the tree guys come by and cut down the dead trees behind Sister Kim's, that's when we had them come by and cut a few limbs out over here. They also cut down this dead tree in the cemetery lane. I know that you guys don't want to sit here and watch Ben drive a tractor. Let's go ahead and get around and get our jobs done. But no, I'm really proud of Ben. He was not born and raised on a tractor. He's never had exposure to using a tractor until now. And I called my sister Tina yesterday and I told her how proud I was of Ben for what he's been able to do with us here. And I do think that Ben really enjoys this work. This is kind of a part-time gig for him, which is fine. But he's been a lot of help. He really has. We got a fire burning here, Pebbles. Ben, we got both gates open. We'll get back to this conversation. All right, we are back talking funeral and funeral expenses with Ben, who is, in fact, training to be a mortician. Okay, go ahead.
So I think if I remember correctly, an average cremation will cost about $1,000.
Okay.
Maybe $2,000. Yeah.
I can't see why it would be that much for a cremation unless you had some kind of fancy urn you wanted to be putting.
You'd be surprised how much gas it requires to burn a human body.
Okay, let's not talk about that. But okay, so $1,000 to $2,000 for a basic cremation.
Yes, if I remember.
Does that include the urn with the ashes and all that, or do you know?
Yes. I think, if I remember correctly, it's roughly around there.
Okay, and then this eco funeral with the wicker.
Costs on an average traditional funeral with embalming, the big fancy casket, hearse, all of that costs about on average $6,000.
Yeah, plus you don't think about this, but most people who don't have their own property, who don't have it set up to have their,
for cemeteries too.
They have to pay, for a spot in the cemetery.
Some cemeteries will even require a vault so that the casket won't collapse. Because over time the casket will cave in and cause a depression in the ground. A depression in the ground,
yeah. So they require. Okay, so okay, that's interesting, Ben. So thank you for that tidbit. I had no idea, and I bet the folks on this page had no idea. I don't think that everyone plans for their funeral. Even though, don't you think most people should?
Yes. That is something I think everyone should plan for is their funeral. Because I can speak from personal experience.
Yeah.
When people don't plan for their funeral, you leave their families or in chaos.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, what a burden on the family. And the expenses, if you don't save and put back for your funeral, then someone has to endure that cost. And that would be the family members most times.
If you want to know more about the subject, if I may recommend another YouTuber.
Oh boy.
Can I?
I don't care.
Okay. Her name is Caitlin Doty. Her YouTube channel is called Ask a Mortician.
Ask a Mortician.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think she does a lot of great videos about this topic, alternative disposals, alternative.
Don't call it disposal. I don't want to think of me being as disposed of, like trash.
Well, on death certificate, it says method of disposal.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I had no idea.
And
so
it would be like burial, cremation.
So on your death certificate, it says method of disposal. Well, they need to find a way to reword that. Because that's not very sensitive, Ben. I don't think, And so we've never lost a large animal here besides Hurricane Harvey. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know my dad has, obviously. But Lester, as far as my animals, I've never lost a large animal. And so I don't know who will be first. I kind of have a feeling it'll be Bucky's because he's one of the older of our horses. He's the Palomino horse, the light-skinned one.
Oh, yeah.
He's also blind in one eye. I don't know why I think it'll be him.
A lot of songs about Palominos.
Poor Nanny Goat's getting eat up by that goose, and she doesn't even care. The goose is so proud of herself, or himself. And then I think to myself, whenever we do lose our first large animal, what do we do with it? We don't have a backhoe. So I've buried a lot of our littles. It's not hard to take a pulse toe digger or a shovel and go to the back where it's sand and dig a hole deep enough to bury a little. You know what I'm saying? But how in the world would you bury a horse or a cow?
Cut. And do you remember one of the horses or cows died, and they just took it in the back and let the coyotes and.
So they just drug it back there then?
Yeah, Daniel and Papa did that about a couple of years ago.
Was that this one, the horse that had the cancer?
Yeah, and they just took it back there and they shot it and left it in the woods to be eaten.
So that, I mean, that may sound inhumane to a lot of people. I get it, but we did, and I don't know the details, so I'm not going to talk about that in this video. I don't want to be called names or to call Pawpaw out necessarily. But yeah, I do know that in the past with larger animals, you just take them to the back and
let them be eaten.
Yeah, you just let them return to nature in a by the predators that come by and sometimes scavenge off of dead animals.
If they have rabies, and they kind of have to be burned, because if they eat the flesh, will spread.
We've never had an animal die of rabies.
I never think that's what they do. That's what happens when you have a livestock animal that gets rabies.
How about like zombies? What do we do with zombie animals?
I don't know. You have to burn those too. Like an old yeller, the horse or the cow had rabies, and they had to burn it.
Old Yeller was a dog, Ben.
No, in the story they had a farm.
Oh, okay.
And they had Old Yeller ended up getting rabies himself, but they had this in the story. They had a cow or a horse, and it took them 3 days to burn it and they had to burn it because it had rabies.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
interesting.